here's Brody Brazil.
This is kind of a 2-for-1 update here on the Chicago White Sox stadium situation. Number one, there are some improved renderings from the original ones that came out a couple weeks ago. And number two, it might be that the White Sox would team up with the Chicago Bears as both those teams are searching for new venues. They might collaborate on a request for public funding. Let's quickly revisit the original renderings, and look, these are beautiful. The South Loop, just a couple miles north of the current guaranteed rate field, the setting, the scenery. It's the 78th neighborhood in Chicago, which would be developed here. It's unbelievable that this land and this space is even an opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of things that still need to happen to make this White Sox ballpark a reality. But in terms of location, like it just does not get much better across Major League Baseball. So these were the renderings, these were the images that came out courtesy of the developer, Related Midwest. They were leaked maybe a month ago, but then they officially came out, I guess, 2 to 3 weeks ago. This one image right here has been remixed. Now, I'll say improved. This did not officially come out from Related Midwest. The image I'm about to morph into right here comes to us from the group Sox in the City. I'm not familiar with them or what they do, but I like their work here. Soak this in, right? Because there's a significant difference between the original image, which was an official rendering, and this modified version. Like, there are so many cool classic touches here, so many odes and callbacks to original Comiskey Park. Let me bring you back to the original, right? Slow dissolve to the original. This is what Related Midwest came out with, and there's nothing wrong with this. The pinwheels, the skyline, Sears Tower, I know it's the Willis Tower, view of Sears Tower. There's a lot of cool stuff that they've done initially here. But I really like this a lot better. And for a couple specific reasons, let me point out all of the intricate details here. Number one, the ode to the Comiskey Park facade. Can you see it there in left field between the first and second levels? Is that familiar to you? If it's not, I'll bring up this picture of old Comiskey Park. And there is that facade right there, kind of the windowed area with arches in between. It's a no-brainer. Like, you instantly connect with what exactly that is. I'm not even from Chicago, but when I saw that, I said, oh, I know exactly what that is. I also like the fact that the old image had more modern light towers, and I don't know the efficiency of old versus new in this structure. This probably may not be optimal, but if they could get those new towers to look like the old towers did, I mean, that would be so iconic. And just think about, for White Sox fans who still remember Comiskey Park and maybe older now, and this would be something that they get to pass on to the next generation of Chicago White Sox fans. Like, I get the goosebumps thinking about how cool this would be if they could really put in these kind of details. I know the pinwheels are a very big thing for White Sox fans, and the exploding scoreboard and all that's always brought to White Sox fans. I really like how they've changed and remixed the scoreboard here. Yeah, the original one from Related Midwest, that was big scoreboard. It's all one video screen. It's rectangular and it's huge. But how about putting the pinwheels back on top of the scoreboard like it used to be at Comiskey Park? And by the way, that photo right there is from the final game at Comiskey Park, White Sox versus Mariners. So that was the scoreboard on its very last official day of operation. If you can get it close to that, again, it's nostalgia here. This is so cool if, in fact, things from this remixed rendering get actually adopted into the real thing. And then lastly, and I don't know if everybody picked up on this detail, but the current ballpark at Guaranteed Rate Field, man, I keep wanting to call it U.S. Cellular. Guaranteed Rate Field, they've always had that picnic area, which I believe is in right field. Yeah, the patio, it's under the seats and behind the cyclone fence out there, I think in right field in Chicago. And what they would do is recreate that in left field at this new ballpark. So it's all the touches from the old stadium, from the current stadium, which would become the old stadium. I like embracing that. I like updating this. And I love the fact that Sox in the City have come out and put their personal touch on this to say, hey, you know what? We love what you, Related Midwest, have done here as a corporation. We want to add the personal touches that might really connect with White Sox fans even better. Okay, here's the total other side of things, is that news out of Chicago says and suggests that the Bears and White Sox might team up together in an effort for public funding for both the stadiums that they're desiring. Here's the report from the Chicago Sun-Times, is that the White Sox developer, Related Midwest, is trying to create a financing partnership with the Bears stadium efforts. And to be clear, we're still talking about two different stadiums and two different sites. This is not the White Sox and Bears saying, let's build one multi-purpose stadium like it's 1970 all over again. That is not the case. The Bears have been in Soldier Field, which got redone 20 years ago. Apparently, it's not up to standard still. The location is tough. So they're either searching to redo it again or to find a totally different location. Here's the quote from Curt Bailey, who is president of Related Midwest, who would be the developer of the 78 site in this ballpark, saying, quote, "Wouldn't it be unbelievable for our city if you were to see two amazing facilities for these great sports teams built at once?" Wouldn't it be amazing if everybody won the lottery every single day? Yeah, I get building on the hype, and I don't mean to disrespect that statement, but like a lot is being asked for here all at once, and that seems like a very strategic partnership. So here are my takeaways on this part of it, the whole tandem effort of public funding here. The White Sox now have a location in mind. The 78 site, which they were already apparently going to ask for $1 billion of either local or state funding to help build. The Bears, they've been considering moving out to the suburbs in two different locations. I think they're now on their third site, if you also include where Soldier Field currently sits. This could, and I say this carefully, this could simplify the request and the process from the government side. If the government were to deal with the White Sox and Bears separately, that might become a headache that makes one team lose or both teams lose out on some kind of opportunity, even a good opportunity, because it just gets confusing and competitive. It could simplify the efforts in saying, well, this is only one deal for us to focus on. It is a bigger deal, but at least everything is kind of under one roof here. So I do understand from the government side maybe why some politicians might actually prefer this and some lawmakers might prefer this. But it could also complicate matters to the point that things become impossible here. And not just the money, which I'll touch on at the very end, and the dollar amount and what this means for Illinois taxpayers. I'm saying that the White Sox want something. Well, then the Bears have to get it equally. And then the White Sox go back for more. And then the Bears say, well, they want this instead. This could be such a headache to satisfy everybody, to put everybody on the same page all at once, that it just doesn't happen. It's like going to a party with friends. If it's you and two other people, easy. You can share an Uber. And maybe if one person's late, you wait, you figure it out. But if 20 people are trying to go to the same party at the same time, that's several different cars. You know 4 or 5 people are going to be inherently late. It's hard to wrangle in everybody and get everything all together. Was that a good example or not? I don't know. But you understand it's hard to put everything together like that with all the details. And not to mention, Illinois' governor is not keen, has said this on multiple occasions, for public funding of private stadiums and private sports teams. So this is already a very difficult scenario. I don't know really what it means for the White Sox and Bears teaming up, other than it could streamline things. It could definitely make things more difficult. But the one thing I absolutely do know is that you're about to see a very intimidating dollar amount being thrown out there to taxpayers and the request for public funding. At least $2 billion, which is crazy because the state of Utah just approved for a potential baseball stadium and for a potential new NBA and NHL arena. They just approved 2 separate measures that would total up to $1.8 billion. So Chicago might look at that and say, well, if they're capable, how could we not be capable? On the same side, I know a lot of people out there may not fancy how this is all playing out in terms of the public responsibility. And it's not uncommon, like the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Kansas City Royals, they currently have a deal that they've been on for multiple decades now, a county tax that goes to paying off the teams and their venues and updates and upgrades and things that both teams do. And that's going to be up for a vote I believe, in the next couple months, if that continues or not. So it's not unprecedented that two pro sports teams from the same market, they team up. I just don't know in this case how it really would benefit or play out. So that was a lot. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thumbs up down below since you've made it here to the end of the video. That would greatly help me in this channel. And if you've never seen me before, you're new to all this, I appreciate it. I'm glad you found me. But make sure you subscribe to this channel down below real quick right now so I can definitely see you back here next time.